Namaste viewers, good morning to you. Welcome to this Global Festival of Oneness to celebrate the life and works of Adi Shankara. Today morning, we are really blessed to have Dr. K. Aravinda Rao to explain the Shankar Digvijaya by Madhaviya Shankar Digvijaya. Dr. K. Aravinda Rao is such a personality. When you meet him, when you see him, when you listen to him, you naturally end up in bowing down and giving a respectful salute. He is a retired Director General of Police, State of Andhra Pradesh. He studied Sanskrit under Mahamohopadhyaya Pullela Ramchandra Guru, Padma Shri Mahamohopadhyaya Pullela Ramchandra Guru. He studied Vedanta under Swami Tattvavidananda Ji. He has authored many books on Hindu philosophy. Over to you, Dr. K. Aravinda Rao.
Thank you, Shalvikarji. Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Ajnanantargahana Patitan Atmavidyopadeshaihi Ratum Lokan Bhavadava Shikhatapa Papachyamanan Muktva Maunam Vatavitapino Mulato Nishpatanti Shambhor Murtisharati Bhuvane Shankaracharya Rupa Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om. Good morning, friends. Today we are having the last session, that is the fourth session on the Madhaviya Shankara Vijayam. In the last session, we completed the 11th Sarga, where one Ugra Kapalika, we saw that their belief was that if they could behead one learned pandit and then offer it to Bhairava, they would get all powers, supernatural powers. So this gentleman, he negotiated with Shankaracharya. After all, you do not have any love on the body. So why don't you give your head? I will also I will get some siddhis and you will get fame. So Shankaracharya, he also agreed for that. But then we saw that Padmapada, he detected it. Padmapada detected it, and he was a Upasaka of Lord Narasimha. So Lord Narasimha, actually he was possessed by Lord Narasimha, we can say. And then in that state, he tore apart that Ugra Kapalika's belly. So that is what we saw, and that is how that chapter ended. Then now we see that Shankaracharya, the further activities of Shankaracharya. That is, next in the 12th Sarga, we see that Shankara Bhagavadpada visits Gokarna Kshetram. So his idea was to discuss or interact with the scholars there, and the idea was to interact with them and then, teach or rather expound his philosophy. So there, Gokarna is a place where Lord Shiva is there in that Ardhanarishwara form. Virinchina Ambhoruhanabhavandyam Prapancha Natyadbhuta Sutradharam. Prapancha Natyadbhuta Sutradharam. He is the Sutradhara for the entire drama of this whole universe. So that sort of Shiva, who is also in Ardhanarishwara form. So he praised that Ardhanarishwara. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. We know that Ardhanarishwara Stotram. So like that he praised the Shiva there. And from there he proceeded to Harihara Kshetram. Harihara Kshetram, in fact, I have not seen, somewhere near Gokarnam it must be. And as the name indicates, it is half Shiva and half Vishnu. And throughout the text we see that there is a Shiva Keshava Abhedam. And in the entire Advaita philosophy, that is a non-dual philosophy, not only Shiva Keshava Abhedam, there is no, all the names and forms are temporary. So there is only one reality and all the names and forms are just, they are all accepted at a tentative level or at a practical level. So the Shiva Keshava Abhedam we see, and of course we may also get it out. Shankaracharya is a Jnani. Can a Jnani visit shrines like ordinary, all these Punya Tirthas, like ordinary people? But anyway, we also know that Lord Krishna says, Kuryad Vidvans Tatha Asakta Chikirshur Lokasangraham, he says. So just as the ordinary man does various routine things in life, even a jnani does all those things in order to set a good example to others. So that is what Krishna says. So we can take it in that way. Not only that, that gives a chance for these people to interact with various sages, because in olden days, nowadays we do not know where sages will come and where sages will stay. But in olden days, these are the Kashi, Prayaga, and these all these kshetrams like Harihara Kshetram. They were the places where so many saints, so many learned people, they went and camped and interacted with one another. So that was the system. So he went to that Harihara Kshetra. Now, there is a praise. There is about from sloka number 9 to 19, 11 verses praising all the avatars of Vishnu and various leelas of Shiva. 10 slokas. It is called Dvyarthikavya in Sanskrit and also in many Indian languages, maybe there in Telugu also it is there, Dvyarthikavya. Dvyarthikavya means it gives two meanings. That is by splitting words in different ways. The same poem, you have to split words in different ways so that it gives different meanings. For instance, one sloka I will read. Vandyam Mahasoma Vilasam Gam Adarena Kalayannanadim Mainam Mahah Kinchana Divyam Angi Kurvan Vibhurme Kushalani Kuryat. Vibhuhu me Kushalani Kuryat. Lord, let him bless me. So that is requested. But here, Maha Somakala Vilasam, you have to split it. This is talking about the Meena where one demon called the Somaka had carried away all the Vedas. All the Vedas he had carried away. So Lord Vishnu had to take that avatara, and then Somaka Lavilasam. So the person who destroyed Somaka, and then he got Gam Adarena. Gam, the word go Shabda, it has got several meanings. One meaning is Veda. Gam Adarena Akalayan Anadim. Anadim Gam. That is that Anadi Vedas. Vedas, the Apaurushaya Vedas. So they were rescued by that Meena Avatara. And Mainam Mahaha, Mainam, Meena, belonging to Meena is Mainam. Mainam Mahaha, Kinchana Divyam Angi Kurvan, Vibhurme Kushala Kurya. The person who took the form of Meena and rescued, or rather recovered, the Vedas by killing that demon. So that Lord, may he bless me. That is the meaning with reference to, or with respect to Vishnu. And with respect to Shiva, if we see, Soma Kala Vilasam. You have to break the same Soma Kala Vilasam. You have to break it as Soma Kala Vilasam. Soma is moon. Kala, Chandra Kala, the crescent moon. Chandra Kala Vilasam. One who is sporting that Chandra Kala on his the tuft. Then Gam Adarena Kalayan. Go Shabda. We very well know that Go refers to Vrishava, that is bull. That bull on which which is the Lord Shiva's what can we say, Vahanam. So that Kalayam Anadim, Mainam Maha. Mainam Maha is, that is Mena. Who is Mena? Mena is the mother of Parvati Devi. Mainam Maha is that Mena's Maha. Maha is, Maha actually means Kirti. That is Tejas, whatever. The Maha also is Om Bhu, Om Bhu, Om Suvaha, Om Maha also we say Maha is that Tejas. Mainam Maha. It refers to Parvati. So the person who is the construct of Parvati, so such Shiva, may he bless me. So this is one level Vishnu and one level Shiva. So like that, there are about 10 slokas, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Nrusimha, Vamana. Then again, Parashurama. He accepts this writer, he is accepting Parashurama also as an avatara. Then Rama, Balarama, Ramo Ramascha, there is one sloka saying the three Ramas, Balarama, Bhargava Rama, then Rama, that is Dasharatha Rama. The three are accepted as avatars. But here we have a rather uncomfortable. Uncomfortable means maybe we can take it as uncomfortable or comfortable as we see. That refers to Buddha Avatara. And Buddha Avatara, the sloka reads like this. The sloka number 18 of chapter 12. Vadhina Ketor Jayine Pratita Sarvajna Bhavaya Dayaika Simne Prayah Kratudvesha Kratadaraya Bodhaika Samne Sprahayami Bhumne. So he says, Pathina Ketu. Pathina Ketu is the person is Pathina is Meena. Meena is a fish or crocodile. Crocodile is said to be the symbol of Manmatha's flag. Manmatha, what is his name? Makaradhvaja. We also call him Makaradhvaja. Makara is crocodile. And crocodile, we also know that it is said to be a sort of aphrodisiac. So Makaradhvaja, his symbol is that Makaradhvaja. Pathina Ketor Jayi, that is Kamasya Jayi. Kama Jayi is Shiva. Kamasya Jayine. Pratita Sarvagnya Bhavaya. That is Sarvagya, he is omniscient. Dayaika Simne, these are common words like compassionate. Dayaika Simne, he is the that epitome of Daya. Then again, Praya Kratudvesha Krutadaraya. Kratudvesha Kruta. Kratudvesha refers to Kratu means that yajna, refers to Daksha yajna. Kratudvesha Krutadaraya. Those who destroyed that Daksha yajna, that is where people like Veerabhadra, etc., they were all admired by or rather praised by Lord Shiva or approved by Lord Shiva. Kratudvesha Krutadaraya. Bodhaika Dhamne, who is of the whose very rupam is knowledge. Bodhaika Dhamne, Bodhaika, that is knowledge alone, that is like we say Prajnana Dhana. Bodhaika Samne, Jnana Swarupa, Sprahayami Bhumne. He is that Bhuma. Bhuma refers to that complete. Bhuma refers to what we call Ananta, what we call Satyangyanam Ananta, that is Bhuma, that is Yovai Bhuma Tatsukam, that is what Upanishad also says. So this is with reference to Shiva, with respect to Shiva. And what about Vishnu? If we say Pathina Ketor Jayane, Kamasya Jayane, that is Buddha also, if we see Buddha's story, he is also said to have conquered or rather defeated Kama. Defeated in the sense he was not under he didn't come under the influence of Kama. Then again, Pratita Sarvagnya Bhavaya, he is also called Sarvagnya. We also hear Sarvagnya Sugato Buddho Dharmaraja Tathagataha. If we see Amarakosha of Amarasimha, we see all the names of Buddha. Then Praya Kratudvesha Krutadaraya. Kratu also means Sankalpa. Ano Bhadra Kratavo into Vishwataha, in that line Kratu. Kratu means a good Sankalpa. Kratudvesha Krutadaraya. That is a person who praises people who have destroyed kratus, that is sankalpas. That is those who have overcome their desires and all those sankalpas. Buddha is a person who praises them, who likes them. So Kratudvesha Krutadaraya. Bodhaika Dhamne is Jnana Swarupa. So this is how Vishnu Avatara can be explained. So like this, but what about Buddha? When was this Buddha brought into this Hindu pantheon, etc.? We need not go into that discussion. But then this text earlier also we saw in the very first shloka, in the very first adhyaya, 30th shloka, 1-30, it also said that Vishnu took the avatar of Buddha in order to delude people, to confuse people, etc. This is something rather difficult to explain. Scholars have to ponder over it, or maybe they have to do some research. But traditional scholars also say that there were two Buddhas. One was this Sarvagnya Buddha avatar, and the other was the Shakyamuni Buddha. So that is what traditional scholars say. But in Amarakosha also we see that there are some names. For example, Sarvagnya Sugato Buddho Dharmarajas Tathagata, like that it recounts the names of Buddha. Then at the end it also says Shakyamunistu Yaha. Shakyamunistu Yaha. On the other hand, the person called Shakyamuni, he is a different Buddha. Shakyamunistu Yaha. Sarvartha Shakyamunistu Yaha. Then again, whenever the word two comes, the rule, Amarakosha rule is Tvanta Thadi Napurva Bhaka, Tu Anta Atha Adi. When the word ends with the two, then it connects with the later words. So Shakyamunistu Yaha, Sa Shakya Simhas Sarvartha Siddho Shaudhoda Nishchasaha. So that is how those names go. So Amarakosha distinguishes between two Buddhas. One is Avatara Buddha and the other is Shakyamuni Buddha. Shuddhodana, Sa Shakya Simhas Sarvartha Siddho Shaudhoda Nishchasaha. So like that, Gautamascha Bandhuscha, Maya Devi Sutashasaha. So like that, the various names. So it is talking about two Buddhas. In fact, it was some news for me also, because this shloka, in order to understand, I consulted one scholar named Kuppa Krishnamurti Garu. Kuppa Krishnamurti, he is the Asthana Vidvamsa for Ganapati Sachidananda Peetham of Mysore. So when I consulted him, he referred to this Amara Kosha, that particular line, Tvanta Tha Dinapur Vavak, in the very beginning. So he said there are two Buddhas. So anyway, this we have to explore, or we can ignore. Then Shankara Bhagavadpada proceeded to Mukambika Kshetra. In that Mukambika, again we see he praised Mukambika. So here again we see Shankaracharya is praising Shiva, he is praising Vishnu, he is praising Shakti. Mukambika is one of the forms of Shakti. That is Shakta. Shakta also is brought into the mainstream. So here again he praises Shakti. Then he also talks about Bahya Puja and Manasa Puja. For example, one sloka number 30 says, Aradhanam te bahireva kechit antarbahischa ekatame antareva anye paretu amba kadapi kuryuhu kuryur naiva tvadaikyanubhavaika nishthaha. There are various levels of bhakti. There is a bhakti where you have the difference. There is a bhakti where you feel that the Lord is your person. Tvamevaham. So there is one sloka, Tasyaivaham, something like some such thing is there. Tasyaivaham, Mamaivasau, Tvamevaham. So these different levels. So contemplating your nature, jnanis, they experience that oneness. So he says in this sloka. So like that, there are a few slokas praising Mukambika. Then he also talks about Shri Chakra, Shat Chakra Kayoho, Purovata. So like that, Chakrasya Mantrasya Tata Stavaikyam. So he talks about Sri Chakra, and he says that it is the same as the Shat Chakras within the body. When we are worshipping Sri Chakra, we have to relate it to the Shat Chakras within the body. So Sri Chakra is a sort of external representation of the Shat Chakras in the body. Then after that, now we come to the episode of Hastamalaka. There is a boy, another Shishya. So Shankara Bhagavadpada reaches one Agraharam, named that Agraharam's name is Sri Bali, some Bali Agraharam. So there was a learned person. There was a very learned Brahmin named Prabhakara. Prabhakara also, he is the same Mimamsaka. We know that there is a Prabhakara Matam and Bhatta Matam. So this Prabhakara Mimamsaka was there. And Prabhakara Mimamsa was a very great scholar of Mimamsa. He had one son. That son, though he was a grown-up son, but then he was just not speaking to anybody. Na bhakti kinchit, na shrunoti kinchit, dhyayan nivaste kila madda cheshtaha. So he doesn't speak, he doesn't listen, he looks as though he is contemplating on something. And Rupeshu Maraha, he looks very handsome, very, very fairly built boy. And the people thought he was such a dull person. Jadavad Vicheshtate. Jada, he was a dull, very dull fellow. And people used to tease, his fellow boys used to tease him also. So this Prabhakara took this boy to Shankara Bhagavadpada. And so they actually took that boy physically and made him prostrate before Shankara Bhagavadpada, because he didn't even know how to do that Sashtanga Namaskara. And when the boy was made to lie down, he didn't even get up. He didn't know how to, he didn't know that he had to get up and all that. Sa na udatishtat patitah padam buje. He na udatishtat, he didn't even get up. So prayasa jadyam prakatam viditsati. So then Deshikendra himself krupaya udatishtapat. That is, he took him in his hands and then raised him gently. And Shankaracharya, then he says, who are you? So before that, there is one or two slokas. The father says, okay, sometimes he eats, sometimes he doesn't eat, and he moves as he pleases. And some boys, they also beat him, and he doesn't retort, he doesn't get angry at all. Tathapi rushtena na tadyateyam. So even if people beat him, they don't beat him. He doesn't get angry. So then Shankaracharya asked this boy, Kastvam kimevam jadavat pravruttaha. Who are you? And why are you behaving like this jada? So Shankaracharya knew that this boy was somebody who was a jnani by birth. So this Hastamalaka belongs to the category of jnanis who attained Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam by birth, like Shuka, Vamadeva, and some other people. And probably the recent example is Ramana Maharshi. So like that, some people are blessed. So Hastamalaka, then Hastamalaka, immediately he tells, I am not a Jada, Naham Jada, Kintu Jada Pravartate. This body-mind complex, which is Jada, this is actually acting. Mat Sannidhanayana, na Sandhihe Guru. In my presence, this body-mind complex is moving, oh my Guru. Shadurmi Shadbhava Vikaravarjitam. This is Shadbhava Vikaravarjitam, Shadurmi. There are 6 urmis that are hunger, thirst, etc. They talk about 6 waves which overtake a person. Then again, Shadbhava Vikaraha. That is all changes which take place in any organism, any living organism. There is what is called birth, there is growth, there is some stability for some time, and then again decay and death. So these are Bhava Vikaras, all these changes which take place in any organism. So this Vikara Varjitam, I am that self which is devoid of all these things. Sukhai Katanam, Paramasmi Tatpadam, I am that supreme, I am in that supreme stage. So he tells about 12 shlokas. It is actually a summary of the entire Upanishad, summary of Vedanta. So that they are called Hastamalaka shlokas. He says basically, I am the Chaitanya Swarupa. Then he was then called Hastamalaka because Prakashayante Paramatma Tattvam Karastha Dhatri Palavadyadekam. Karastha Dhatri Palavat. So he is telling the entire meaning of Upanishads as though, and giving it as though like a berry in his hand, just having a berry in his hand, and then he is handing it over to you. Like that, he has told Upanishad Tattvam in such simple way. Shlokastu Hastamalaka Prasiddha. So these shlokas, let them be known as Hastamalaka. So Shankaracharya says he was born with Brahmajnana. Vinopadesham Swatayeva Jata Paratma Bodha. Vinaupadesham, without any teaching. So it has just come by birth to him. And in the earlier birth, probably he had done some Jnana Vyasa. Thus he has become he is born a Brahmajnani. So he says, Shankaracharya tells the father, this boy is of no use to you. You please send him along with me. So father also agrees. No problem. So Shankara Bhagavadpada took that boy. He gave him Diksha and Yayo Gruhitva Deshamipsitam Puna. Okay. Then again, Shankaracharya proceeded to Srungeri. We know that Srungagiri. It is called Srungagiri because Rishya Srunga is said to have done tapas at that place. Rishya Srunga did tapas. So there is that Rishya Srunga Ashramam about 10 kilometers from the Srungeri Pitham. If we visit Srungeri Pitham, about 10 kilometers from Srungeri, that is like in a slightly more elevated place. That Rishya Srunga Ashramam is there. Of course, not many people visit there. Not visited by people at all. Very rarely, probably, people may be visiting. So there, the Shankaracharya went to that place. Tata Shatananda Mahendra Purvaihi Suparva Brundai Upagiyamana. So he moved there. He moved to that place. Then again, Yatra Adhuna Pyuttama Rishyashrunga. Yeah. So this text says, even now Rishyashrunga is doing tapas there. It is not as though Rishyashrunga did tapas at some point of time. Yatra Adhunapi Uttamam Rishyashrungas tapas charati Atmabhudantaranga. Even now tapas charati. Rishyashrunga does tapas. So that is our belief in various places. Rishyashrunga is still there. Hanuman is still there. So or some other deity is still there, we say. And Shankara Bhagavadpada got a temple built there and did Pratishtha. Prakalpya Tatra Indra Vimana Kalpam Prasadam Avishkruta Sarva Shilpam. So he in Srungeri, he got a building, he got a Prasadam, he says Prasadam, he got a building built. Then again, then Pravartayamas, okay. Then again, yeah, Sharadambe, then he requested Sharada Devi, earlier also we saw that when he was debating with Ubhaya Bharati, he said after the debate, he had requested Ubhaya Bharati to bless all the shrines which were going to be established by him. So, Ya Sharadambe Tyabhidham Vahanti, it is a well-known sloka. Ya Sharadambe Tyabhidham Vahanti, Pratam Pratignyam Pratipalayanti. She had promised to Shankaracharya. So she is keeping that word. So she has her special presence here. It is not as though the goddess is staying here only and then it is not staying elsewhere. When we say that a goddess is staying here, staying in all places. In fact, God means Sarvavyapi. All these divine manifestations are Sarvavyapi. When they are Sarvavyapi, then why do you call she is specially there? Some special manifestation, some exclusive manifestation of the in that place, because so many saints and all learned people, they visit that place. Adhyapi Sungeri Pure Vasanti, Pratyotate Abhishtavaraan Dishanti. So Adhyapi, she is still there, though the God or goddess is infinite. There is a special manifestation in some places. We have to take it like that. And here, one more student comes here. One more student, not one more, yeah, the student is already there. That is Totakacharya. One student is a very sincere, very simple student, because when a guru is there, there are all types of students. There are some people who are really jignasus, some very bright students. There are some people who really do seva to the teacher. Actually, that is more important from the guru's point of view, because guru's bed has to be prepared. Otherwise, the guru cannot waste his time in various daily routine things, and then his clothes have to be washed, and probably some small services will be there. So like that, there is a boy. He's there. His name is Anandagiri. Chittanuvarti, Nijadharmachari, Bhutanukampi, Tanuvag Vibhuti. There is a description like that. He knows Chittanuvarti, he knows the teacher's mind. Nijadharmachari, he does all his duties very, very well. And then Bhutanukampi, he is compassionate to all beings. Tanuvag Vibhuti, he speaks very less. So he is Tanuvag Vibhuti also means not a learned person, a very ordinary person. Very ordinary person. He was doing all seva. Snatva Pura Kshipati Kambalavastramukhi. So he gets ready earlier than the Guru. He finishes his bath before the Guru gets up. And then he does various Kambalavastramukhi, that bed and all that, not bed, the seat for Guru. Uchasanam Mrudu Samancha Dadati Nityam. So he prepares the seat for Guru. Samlakshya Danta Parishodhana Kashtam Agriam also brings that Danta Parishodhana Kashtam, that is in place of toothbrush, probably some neem twig or something like that. So Bhahyadikam Gatavate, Saliladikancha, some water to drink. So he has to get water from some nearby lake or some brook or some such thing. So he used to bring that water. And Chayeva Deshikamasau Brijam Anvayatya. Chayeva, he moved like a shadow and served him. So then Guru Samipena Jatu Jrumbhate, he doesn't even breathe heavily, breathe noisily in front of his Guru. That is Anapratesham, Anaprasvasitavyam. There is one Upanishad Vakyam. When elderly people come, Tvaya Sane Tesham, Tvaya Sane Anaprasvasitavyam. Some such line is there. So in the presence of elders, we are not even supposed to talk in a loud way. We are not supposed to heave, sighs, and all that, and then not sit. We should not sit irreverently. There are so many ways in which we have to show our respect to them. The body language, basically. Then one day, it so happened that he was serving like that every day. He was serving like that. One day, when all the students were ready for the class, and Totaka, he had not yet come back. Totakacharya, his name is Anandagiri. He had not yet come back. So then, meanwhile, the students, the bright students are there, like Padmapada, the very bright student. So they said, oh, why wait for this Totakacharya, Totaka? This Giri, anyway, he is a very dull man. Let us start off with all the Shanti Pathas. Let us start. Meanwhile, he will come. Then Shankaracharya said, no, let us wait. But these people said, Padmapada said, why that man is a fool. Why should we wait? So then Shankaracharya thought, okay, tasya garvam apahartum akarvam swashayeshu karunati shayacha. So then, out of compassion for this Anandagiri, and also to teach, to reduce the garvam, to reduce that pride of Padmapada. You see, the Guru's duty is also to reduce the pride. He has a Guru. In fact, our teachers say that a Guru is like a spiritual barometer for the student. That is the reason why, of course, we may learn Vedanta from internet, and we may learn Vedanta from various discourses from various people. But then Guru Shushrusha is prescribed, because there only we see every what can we say? Every aberration, any small aberration is noticed. And then a good teacher will also point out, a good teacher will also has a way to reduce it or rectify it. So Guru Shushrusha, at least visiting them and then staying with them. Of course, it is not possible to all of us. At least we have to visit now and then. So that is what we can do. So tasya vyadidesha sa chaturdasha vidyaha sadya eva manasa girinamne. So to that giri, on that Anandagiri, Manasaiva, through his Sankalpa only, he transferred all the Chaturdasha Vidyas. The Chaturdasha Vidyas, what are the Chaturdasha Vidyas? The 4 Vedas, 6 Vedanga, Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Chandas, etc. Then again, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Purana, and Dharma Shastra. All 4. Mimamsa, Nyaya, Purana, and Dharma Shastra. All including. These are called the Chaturdasha Vidyasthanani. The 14 places of 14 sources for the higher learning, let us say. So that gentleman, he received that knowledge. He was coming from the lake or some such place, having washed Shankaracharya's dhoti. So he came. Then he came praising Shankaracharya. In excellent verses. Totaka Vruttaihi, Aishta Deshikavaram, Paratattva Vyanjakaihi, Lalita Totaka Vruttaihi. So Paratattva Vyanjakaihi, already he had become a Jnani. So with that Jnana, Brahma Jnana, revealing that Brahma Jnana in his shlokas, he praised Hrudyam Totaka Vrutta Vrunta Ruchiram, Padyatmakam Satphalam, poems which actually touch the heart. That is what he says. Hrudyam. Hrudyam is something which touches the heart and relished by all, say all the spiritual seekers. So the refrain is Bhava Shankara Deshikame Sharanam. I don't know this, but then the commentators have quoted all these Totaka Ashtakam. Hrudaye Kalaye Vimalam Sharanam, Bhava Shankara Deshikame Sharanam, etc. That is called the Totaka Vruttam. In fact, Vijayi Bhava Venkatashayilapate, that also incidentally is in the same Totaka Vruttam. So these fellow students, they were all perplexed. So they saw how by Guru's grace, he became a Jnani. So here the point is, one should also have Guru's grace in order to have Atmajnana. Atmajnana is not a mere intellectual attainment, but that inner transformation also. Unless that inner transformation comes, then he is not a Jnani. So that is the point we see repeatedly. So they gave up their pride and they became friends with him. Then Atatasya Budhasya Vakya Kumbham Nishamaya. So Padmapada and others, they gave up Jalajangri Mukhaha Satirthya Varyaha. Jalajangri is Padmapada. Jalaja is Padma, Angri is Pada, Padmapada, etc. So for this, in this point, in this Kavya, this Vidyaranya, he uses various phrases. For example, Padmapada, he doesn't always say Padmapada. He says Jalajangri. So like that, several names in different forms. Then again, we see that Adhyapitat Prakaranam Prathitam Prathivyam. Okay. Then all those 4 disciples, they were Padmapada, Suresha. Now all the 4 famous disciples, we know, all the 4 are now fully with Shankaracharya. Umarthas Chatvaraha, Kimuta Nigama Rikprabhutayaha, the praise by Vidyaranya. Oh, they are like the 4 Purusharthas, or they are like the 4 Vedas. So, like that, he is praising them. And the point here is that this Atmajnanam is also, I mean, Guru's grace is also very important from Atmajnanam. Atma Prasada, Guru Prasada, Daiva Prasada, something like that. There is one shloka also. Atma Prasada, that is the internally there should be some stability. There should be the Prasada, inner harmony has to be there. Then again, Guru Prasada, the Guru's grace has to be there. Deva's grace, divine grace also has to be there. So that is what they say. And we come to the end of this 12th Sarga, which is a rather small Sarga with only 89 shlokas. We come to Trayodasha Sarga, that is 13th Sarga, where Sureshwarajaya, we see some small bickerings among the students, because whenever there is a teacher and there are some students, naturally people with the different capacities, there will be some small ego problems and bickerings. So we see here that sometimes once Sureshwaracharya, the senior most among them. Senior most means eldest, oldest rather, oldest among the students. All other people are young, including Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya is young, Padmapada, Totaka, all the people are young. Then Sureshwara had an idea in his mind. He wanted to write some sort of small commentary on Brahmasutra Bhashya. Shankaracharya has written Brahmasutra Bhashya, and Brahmasutra Bhashya, because it is rather tough and it cannot be understood by the lay persons easily. So he wanted to write some notes. It is called Vritti. Sharirake atyanta gabhira bhave vrittim sputam kartumana jagada. So he wanted to write some vritti, a small explanatory note. But Shankaracharya actually said, yes, I do like that idea. Not only vritti, you write vartikam. Vritti is a small lagu commentary. Whatever a text is there, you write some commentary without adding any of your our own ideas and our own comments and whatnot. So, but Vartikam is something which is a slightly bigger responsibility. That is Vukta, Anukta, Durukta, Duruktartha, Vyaktakaritam, Vyaktakari to Vartikam. There is a meaning. If you see dictionary, Vartikam, for that Vartikam, it says Vukta, Anukta, Duruktartha, Vyaktakari to Vartikam. So Vukta, whatever is told, is it right or not? Anukta, oh, this point has been omitted, something has not been told, let us add it. Then Durukta, something is wrongly said, that you have to make a small correction. Vyaktakari, that is telling all these things. So that is Vartikam. And that is in the form of verses. We can't say poetry, it is in a metrical form, it is in the form of verses. So Sureshwaracharya's Vartika, we see for Taittiriya Upanishad and also for Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He wants to write on Brahmasutra Bhashya, but somehow it doesn't happen. We see why it doesn't happen. So then Sureshwaracharya is very happy when Guru says you write Vartikam, why Vritti? So then he is very, very happy. But then some other students like Padmapada, they thought this gentleman, he had all the while been a karmatha. Yes, sarvalaukikamapi ishwaram ishwarana pratyadi desha. So this man was not even accepting the presence of God. He was even saying karma alone gives phalam, karma phalam. There is no need for God. And bahuyuktabhi uttarajñah. Karma even akanarakadi phalam dadati. Karma itself can give all the fruit. So that is how he was there till recently. And then sannyasam buddhipurvakam yadhatte. So even sannyasa, he has taken up sannyasa not because of love for sannyasa, not because he is convinced, but out of compulsion, because he got defeated, because there was a bet, and in that bet he got defeated and he became a sannyasa. And still he has all those vasanas of a karmatha, of a person who is steeped in that karma. So this Padmapada and Ananda Padmapada and all these people, they secretly, they don't tell in the presence of Sureshwara, Rahasi. They privately go to the Guru, and then they told the Guru. Then again, they also say, let Padmapada write. Somebody says, let Hastamalaka write, say somebody. So how can you trust this Vishwarupa? They say. Vishwasapatram katham guru te Vishwasapatram avapadyata Vishwarupah. They are not even calling him Sureshwaracharya. Sureshwaracharya's earlier name was Vishwarupa, also called Mandana Vishra. Mandana Vishra must have been a title. Vishwarupa was the original name. So how can you trust this Vishwarupa? They are still calling him Vishwarupa, not Sureshwara. So how can you trust this Vishwarupa? Bhashyasya Padmapada eva karotu tika. Let Padmapada do tika. Somebody says. So all the students saying, no, let him do tika, let him do tika. So like that. Then our Hastamalaka, let Hastamalaka do tika. Then Shankaracharya says, you see, Vanim Samakarnya Sanandanasya Samismitam Bhashyakrutam Abhabhashya. So with a smile on his face, Shankaracharya said, you see, for writing a commentary, for writing a Vartikam, you need some worldly knowledge also. Naipunyam anyadrishamasya kintu samahitatvan na bahih pravrutti. Samahitatvat, right from childhood he has been in samadhi. He is too much of innocence is also a disqualification for several things. So bahya pravrutti, na bahya bahih pravrutti. This bahih pravrutti are the so-called worldly knowledge. That is also our lokajnanam, as we say. That is also very important to write anything, because you have to see what is the human behavior, human psychology. Unless we understand human psychology, we cannot uh, uh, understand or advise or counsel people properly. So Sureshwara knows karma so well. So he also knows its limitations now. So that is what Shankaracharya says. And a Rishi, yeah, Shankaracharya, what he says is a Rishi should also have knowledge of the world in order to guide the world. You see, that is how we see people like Vyasa. Though they were sages, Vyasa and Valmiki, we think that they were just sages and they didn't know anything. But if we read Vyasa, you understand what a great psychologist, what a great sociologist, what a great, what can we say, a philosopher, all the things rolled into one. Philosopher, sociologist, psychologist, social reformer, all these things rolled into one. To some extent, we see this in Valmiki also, because the Valmiki's canvas is rather much less than that of Vyasa. Vyasa had a much larger canvas. So Vyasa, we see that, that is why we see that Dharma, in Telugu, there is one slok, poem, Dharma Tattvajnalu, Dharma Shastram Mani, Adhyatma Vidulu, Vedantamani. So people who knew Dharma Shastra, they thought it was Dharma Shastra. The people who knew philosophy, they thought it was philosophy. People who were poets, they thought it was poet. So like that, it combined all the qualities. So like that, so Swami Bhagavadpada, he advises his students, this Kotaka, this Hastamalaka is not capable. Shaishavad Atmavirina Chetaha, right from childhood. This man was so immersed in Atma Jnana. So that is what we see here. So that is why we have to, I sometimes feel that the Swamijis also should have some advisors, because some of the Swamijis, very high Swamijis also who sit in Peetams, they may not be having understanding of various contemporary problems, all these issues of globalization, etc. Various, I mean, the competitive world in the field of religion also, competitive religions, let us say. So all those things, probably they also need some advisors. So anyway, we'll see now. Then, then Shankaracharya also, still, though he says this Hastamalaka is not competent, he also says he accepted the rather opinion of so many people, a rather democratic approach. Aham bahunam anabhishta karyam nakarayishye. I will not do something which is not liked by many of you. Bahunam anabhishta karyam. Bahunam anabhishta. It is not liked by all of you, so I will not get it done. And then he privately counsels Sureshwaracharya. You see, this is the problem. All other people, they are having some sort of small bickering in their minds. You write some independent text. Then Sureshwara, rather, he feels rather bad. And Sureshwara is said to have written that Naishkarmya Siddhi in one night. In one night, he just sat down and then wrote that the entire text Naishkarmya Siddhi and presented to his guru. And all of the people, they got, they were surprised, and then they got, they really gave up their jealousies. So that is what we see here. Other students, they realized that Sureshwara was a totally changed person. So they gave up their jealousy. Tesham chasit pratyayah tadvad asmin yadvacha anyah tatvavid yas saneti. Yeah, he says, he says, Gandham drishtva modamano munindra tancha anyebhyo darshayamasa hutyam. So Shankaracharya was very much pleased by that book and then showed it to the students. So they also got convinced, yes, this person is a changed person. Then we see, then Sureshwaracharya says, yes, he also says a few words like Aham Gruhi Natra Vicharaniyam Kimtena Purvam Manayeva Hetu. Yes, I was a Gruhi, that is Grahastha. There is no doubt about it. And now all the bondages have gone. Bandhecha Mokshecha Mano Vishuddho Gruhi Bhavedva Pyutam Askariva. So you see, mind is the thing which determines whether you still have bondages in the mind or whether you have given up all the bondages. So I accepted sannyasa because I was convinced, not because I was defeated in debate. He also says, Viraga bhavat na parajitastu. Viraga bhavat, I developed vairagya. So that is the reason why I took up sannyasa, not because I got parajita or defeated. Vadohi Tatvasya Vinirnayaya. So once I learned the truth, then till that time, I was having all this aham, mama, that notions. But now, but when I had this knowledge of tattva, the reality, then I developed vairagya. And I took up this sannyasa. Then Shankara Bhagavadpada consoles him. He tells him, yes, I know that you are highly competent. You please write Vartika on Taittiriya Bhashyam. Taittiriya. Tad Vartikam mama krute bhavata praneyam. He says, Satyam yadatta vinayin maya mama yajushiya shakha. My shakha is yajushiya shakha. That is yajush shakha. Shankara Bhagavadpada was also Yajush Shakha Dhyayi, Krishna Yajush Shakha Dhyayi. So in that Krishna Yajush Shakha, we have got this Taittiriya Upanishad also. You write, I have written Bhashyam for that also. You write Vartika on that. You also write Bhashyam for Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihadaranyaka is your Shakha. Tadvat Vadiya Khalu Kanva Shakha. Your Shakha is Kanva Shakha. My Shakha is different. Your Shakha also is different, but still Shankaracharya has written Bhashyam. So it is your Shakha. So you write Vartikam on the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashyam. So that is why Sureshwaracharya is called Vartikakara. Bhashyakara is Shankaracharya. Vartikakara is Sureshwaracharya when we talk about Vedanta. Then he also says, don't bother for Mashanki Purvameva Dushata Vakya Rodhaha. That is, people who don't like you may talk ill about you, but don't bother. Don't bother for what others may say. Then again, we also see that Padmapada also wrote some Panchapadika on Chatussutri. Sanandano Nama Gururanujnaya Bhashyasya Rikam Yadidheritah Param. So he wrote what is called Panchapadika. Then Chatussutri. Then with this particular, this sarga also is rather small sarga. This sarga comes to an end. We come to 14th sarga. 14th sarga, where, I mean, this sarga, almost the entire sarga is on Padmapada. Padmapada now wants to undertake some pilgrimage. He wants to go around and then he wants to visit various tirthams and then interact with various people. So Shankara Bhagavadpada is in Sringeri. And meanwhile, Padmapada wanted to do some Tirtha Yatras. Deshan Didrukshe Bahutirtha Yuktan. So then he went to, but Shankaracharya said, I'm sorry, I'll switch out this phone. Then Shankaracharya, he advised for a student who is not yet fully become a jnani, who is still a student, it is not advisable to go on Tirtha Yatra because Dvidha he says, Shushrushamanena Guros Samipe Steyam Naneyam Cha Tato Anya Desha. When you are doing Shushrusa, still doing Guru Shushrusa, it is, you have to stay for some more time till you get that Nididhyasanam, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana becomes strong and you are a perfect person. And he also says, Dvidhahi Sanyasa Udiritoyam Vibuddha Tatvasya Cha Tad Bubutsoho. We know that in Shankara, in Pancha, in the 5th Adhyaya of Gita also, we see that there are 2 levels of sannyasa. One is Vidvat Sannyasa and the other is Vividisha Sannyasa. Vidvat Sannyasa, that is a person who becomes who is a full-fledged jnani, who is a fully evolved jnani, and he totally gives up all karma. So that is one level of sannyasa. But there is a Vividisha Sannyasa. Some person wants to be in the field of, in that level of jnana, reach that jnana nishtha. So as a sort of preparatory means, so he takes up sannyasa. But still, Vividisha Sannyasa is fraught with so many defects, as we see in that 5th Adhyaya of Gita also. There also, a person has taken up sannyasa, but then there is a likelihood of fall from that particular level. So that is what Shankaracharya advises here. Tattvam padarthaikya udiritoyam yatnat tvamartha parishodhaniya. Unless this tvamartha, the meaning of tvam, you have to do that investigation of who you are. that investigation of who you are has to be completed before you do other things. Then he also says there can be other physical problems also. There are various other problems like then Jvara, Atisara, Adisha, Rogajalam. So maybe some physical discomforts, you may have some health problems, there may not be water, there may not be food in some places, and there may not be cleanliness in several places. And our daily routine, Swadhyaya, etc., so daily routine also gets disturbed. And that is what Shankaracharya advises. But Padmapada, somehow he has got a strong idea that he has to go for Tirtha Yatra. So he still says, oh my dear sir, there are some advantages there. There are about 12 verses in which Padmapada again requests his father, his teacher, Shloka number 8 to 19 of this 14th Sarga. So he says, we still have a chance to meet so many learned people there, so many saints there. And he also says, Sukhena Punyam Kanu Labhyate Duna. He is talking about Punyam, Papam, etc. Tirtha Yatra gives us Punyam. So it is surprising that Punyam Padmapada is still talking about Punyam, Papam, etc. When he is a student of Shankaracharya, which means that probably he was not a fully evolved Jnani. Of course, we are too small to pass any judgment, but he is talking about Punyam, Papam, etc., which usually the Jnanis, they don't do. And he also says, okay, there may not be, our regimen is disturbed, but still in sacred places, in all these places of pilgrimage, there is some relaxation for your dharma. Probably you may not do Sandhyavandana at the right time, or you may not do some other tarpanam or something like that at the right time. So there is something called dharma sankocha. Dharmadi sankuchita mahu ati pravruddham. Dharma sankocha is, there is some relaxation. When you are at home, there is no relaxation. When we are at home, there is no relaxation if we don't do Sandhyavandana in time, if we don't do various other things which we are supposed to do. But when you are on tour, when you are on Tirtha Yatra, there is some relaxation. There is some exemption. So that also he says. Then he also says, yes, Sujanena Sangata Parikushnadi. Then Shankara Bhagavadpada, he also says, okay, if you are so keen, I will not stop you, but you also take care. He still advises. You see, don't take some shortcuts, etc., where even thieves may be there. Maiko Margo, Bahujana Padakshetra Tirthani Yatam, Chauradhvanam Parihara, Chauradhvanam. There are certain routes which are taken by thieves, etc. So those routes you give up. Though there is a longer route which is taken by several people, you take that longer route and not the short routes. Then Sadbhis Sangho Videyaha. You have to move in the company of good people only. Then again, sometimes the people may look good, but then they may be cheats, they may be deceivers. Then Satsangoyam Bahugunayuto Pyekadoshena Dushta. So he is talking about how Satsanga is very important. Then again, he also says, there may be some saints nearby. Suppose you are going from here to some place, but on the way, not directly on the way, but somewhere close to the way, there may be some other great saint. You also make it a point to visit that particular saint. Then Devan Vastram Likhitam Athava Durya. Again, he says, Marge Choraha, Nikruti Vapusha, Samvaseyuhu, Sahaiva. So there may be some people who may be coming along with you. Channatmanaha. Channatmanaha means they pretend to be good people. Then again, they may steal your Devan. Devan means your Salagrama, etc., whatever articles of worship. They may steal your Likhitam Athava Durvidhanetu Kama. In olden days, they also used to carry their books. Books means in the form of these palm leaves. It could be a big bundle also. So that bundle, he takes months and months to prepare it, because in olden days there was no printing press. So they had to write. They had to take palm leaves, and then with the help of a ghantam, they had to write. So your books may be stolen. So all these advices he gives. And Shankara Bhagavadpada, then Padmapada leaves. Then after that, we see that Shankaracharya, by his yogic powers, Adhigamya tada Atma Yoga Shaktehe, Anubhavena Nivedya cha Ashtavebhyah, Avalambita Taraka Patho Asau, Achirad Antikam Asasada Matu. This is sloka number 29. He says, by his yoga shakti, he knew that his mother's life was coming to an end. Then Avalambita Taraka Patha, he took that aerial path. Taraka Patha is he moved in air by his yoga shakti, and he immediately went to his mother's place. He went home and then he met his mother, and then he touched Nanama Tasyash Charanau Krutatma. So he touched her feet and then bowed to her feet, and her joy knew no bounds. And though Shankaracharya also asau asangopi tadardra cheta ram aha mohandatamopaharta. So though Shankaracharya is asanga, even then ardra cheta, his heart melted, and he told mohandatamopaharta, but at the same time he is a remover of all moha. He is a remover of all moha. So then he tells his mother, okay, Amba, I am Asmi. Amba, I am Asti, Atra. Oh, I am Atra, I am Atra Asti. So I am here. So he says, this fellow is here, not I am here, this fellow is here. So something like that. So mother also says, I am so fortunate, at least I could see you in my last stage. And then you perform samskara. Samskrutya, Shastrodita Vartmanatvam. Shastrodita Vartmanam is, as told in the Shastras, you please do my samskara. And Tvam Sadurta Mam Prapaya Punyalokan. You send me to Punyalokas. So she is only, her idea of God is only some Punyalokas. You have to go to some Vishnu Loka, you have to go to some Shiva Loka, you have to go to some other Loka. We see the description of various Lokas. And we select the Lokas depending on our temperament. So if you want to have some nice food, some pongal and all those things, you should select some Vishnu Loka. If you want to do some tapas and then sit in a corner and then do some Atma Dhyana, probably somebody may select Shiva Loka. So like that. So this lady, then what Shankaracharya, let us see what Shankaracharya does. Shankaracharya he doesn't want her to go to any Loka. He thinks, let me teach Brahma Jnana. Upadishat Brahmaparam Sanatanam Ayatra Hastangri Vibhaga Kalpana, where there is no form, Hasta Angri Vibhaga Kalpana, where there is no form, there are no limbs, Neravayavi, Brahma Param Sanatan. So he told that he gave that Brahmopadesham to her. But still she said, oh my dear boy, Saumya, Agune me Ramatena Chittam. Aguna means Nirguna. In that Nirguna Brahma, I have no great fascination for Nirguna Brahma. Me Ramatena Chittam, me Chittam Naramate. That is, my mind somehow is not very comfortable with that Nirguna Swarupa. Ramyam Vadatvam Sagunantu Devam. Something which is beautiful, Ramyam, something which is pleasant. You tell me. Na buddhi marohati tattvamatram. So this tattvamatram, this philosophy, it is not getting into my head. Na buddhim arohati. It doesn't getting into my brain. So then Shankaracharya thought, he meditated on Shiva. Vruttair bhujangopapadaihi prasannaha prasthapayamasa sat swadutan. So he worshipped the Lord Shiva, and Shiva also sent his dutas. And his dutas were in a very fierce form. They are people Vilokyatan, Shula, Pinaka Hassan. They are having this Shula. Shula means the trident. Pinaka is that what is that Dhanus. Then Pinako, Jagavam Dhanu, that Dhanus. So they were all in a fierce form. So then when she saw them in a fierce form, no, I will not go with these people. Call more gentle people. So then again, Shankaracharya, Bhujagadhipa, Bhogatalpa Jalam, Bhogatalpa Bhajam, Kamalankasthala Kalpitangri Padmam. So he praised Lord Vishnu, who was relaxing on that, Bhujagadhipa, that is on that Adishesha. Then again his feet, Kamalankasthala Kalpitangri Padmam. His feet actually are on the lap of Kamala, that is Lakshmi Devi. So normally in films we see that Vishnu is relaxing, and of course Vishnu's feet are on the snake. But then here his feet are on this Lakshmi Devi's lap. Then Neela and Bhudevi, they were weaving. They were actually not weaving. They were actually with fans in their hands. They were just waving the fans. So Vishnu sent his messengers, and Vishnu's messengers are really handsome, very good-looking. Mahaniya Tamala Komalangam. So they're very handsome people, very well dressed with nice ornaments, not having very fierce arms, etc. So she felt happy, and she left the body, keeping that Vishnu's form in her mind. Chitte dadhara Mrutikala upagate nijasutoditam ambujaksham chitte dadhara. So ambujaksham chitte dadhara means she kept that form of Vishnu in her mind and left the body. So this is an example of how lay persons actually want a saguna puja. They may not like this nirguna upasana or nirguna nididhyasana, nirguna dhyanam or nirguna samadhi. So Shankara Bhagavadpada thereafter conducted the ceremonies personally, and he personally did. And for doing that samskara, we need fire. So he wanted for fire. He asked for some fire because in his house the fires were not kept because he has taken up sannyasa. Every grihastha is supposed to keep 3 types of fires. That is Dakshinagni, Garhapatyagni, Ahavaniyagni, 3 types of fires for 3 different purposes. So the fire has to be taken from Dakshinagni, I'm not sure. So that fire has to be given by somebody. So he asked his relatives to give that fire. So they refused to give fire. What is this? How are you competent to do this? Prakriya and this kriya? You are not competent. You are a sannyasi. You are not competent to do this. Swayameva chikirshuhu yesha matuhu charamam karma samajuhava bandhum. So you have no authority to do this samskara. And you are kimihasti yate tavadhikaraha. Ivaite he tavadhikaraha kimasti. Where is your authority? Hitava ityena mami nininduruchaihi. That is hitava. Hitava means you are a fake sannyasi. So they refused to give that Agni. So when they refused to, though he requested for a long time, they didn't give Agni. He was very angry with the bandhus, and then he actually gave he actually cursed them. And Shankaracharya churned the right shoulder of the mother and produced fire. Sa dakshine doshni mamantha vanyam. So how he did it, we do not know. That yoga shakti, we have to say, I think. And we see such things in our Puranas and Mahabharata also. For example, when Vena, there is one very vain king called Vena. When that Vena dies, then his thigh or shoulder was churned, and then from that shoulder, Pruthu Chakravarti was born. So like that we hear some stories. So like that he churned the right shoulder of the mother and produced a fire, and then with that fire he completed the samskaras, and he also gave a small curse to the fellow Brahmins. So he said, you are not unfit to read Vedas. From now on you will not read Vedas, and Vedas will not be with you. So Veda Bahishkutaste. So the Vedas have boycotted you. So like that. So you will bury your dead people in your own backyards. So Gruhopakanteshu cha vasmashanam adya prabhrutihi. So from now on, Gruhopakanteshu, in your own backyards, in your own the household area, you will have this smashanam. So we do not know why it is there. But anyway, Shankaracharya, he stayed in Kerala for some more time, expecting Padmapada to return. So that he shows his concern for students. Then Jalajangri Apagamechu Abhipsitetra Vilalamba Eshakaha. So Shankaracharya stayed on in Kerala for some more time. And meanwhile, Padmapada was on his way back. He was on his way back from his Tirthayatra. And there he wanted to Tirthayatra basically to meet his teacher again. On the way, he also saw Kalahasti. He saw Kalahasti. So that means Kalahasti and all these places were very famous by that time. Snatva Swarnamukari Salilashaye. He bathed in that Swarnamukhi. There is a river named Swarnamukhi just adjoining the temple in Kalahasti. Of course, now it is dried up. It must have been a beautiful river in those days. Then Labdhvarugnyam, here again he went to Kanchi. Kanchi Kshetram Agat Pavitram, he went to Kanchi Kshetra. There is some description about Kanchi and Chidambaram and all these places. I will skip all those places. Then there is he also saw that place called Shiva Ganga. Shiva Ganga, it was called Shiva Ganga because there are two stories here. Shivedi Ganga Parinamaga Bhut Tato Athachaitat Prathitam Tadakyam. So it seems Shiva, once he was dancing and then he was tired in that dance, and Parvati took the shape of that Ganga, Shiva Ganga, that water, and probably he took that water. Shivasya Natyashrama Karmitasya Shramapanodaya. Shramapanodaya means probably he must have taken bath, could not know. So that is how it is called Shiva Ganga. Another version is when he was dancing, when Shiva was dancing, Nrutyat Tirahata Sthala Jalagatehe. So when he was dancing, from the head, some water fell down, and then that is called Shiva Ganga. There are some stories like that. Then again from there, he went to Ramasetu, Padmapada. He visited shrines of Shiva, Vishnu, and all other deities. Shiva Keshava, Abheda, we say everywhere. And Ramasetu Gamanaya Santadhe Manasam Munihi Anuttamah Punaha. So he visited Ramasetu also, and also Srirangam. Then again, by that time, Akalayya Bahusishya Samvrtaha, Padmapada also had many Shishyas, many disciples on his own by that time, because Padmapada was also a highly learned man. So he got his own disciples by that time. And en route, he also found the village of his own maternal uncle. Maternal uncle, probably in olden days, we all grew up with our maternal uncles. Maternal uncle is the closest friend in olden days, a friend, philosopher, and guide. So like that, so visited the house of his maternal uncle, who also happened to be a great scholar. Unfortunately, he was a ritualist. He was a Mimamsaka. Unfortunately, he was a Mimamsaka. Drishtva Shishye Hitam Chirena Abhiyatam Modam Prapatanda. Matula Shastravedi. Matulaha Shastravedi, Shastravid. Then all the relatives, they surrounded him, and then somebody wept, and Roda Kashit, Mumudetra Kashit, somebody wept, and somebody felt happy, somebody hugged him, and they recalled all the old stories. Then they also, after some time, they also praised Sannyas Ashrama. There is a description of Sannyas Ashrama in some slokas, and again Padmapada replying to them, praising Grihastha Ashrama. So first of all those people, they praise Sannyas Ashrama. They say, you see, Putrana Mitrani na Bandhuvargo na Rajabadhana Chachora Piti. You don't have any problems. There is no problem about children. There is no problem about wife, Mitrani, Bandhuvarga. No problem from anybody. Na Rajabadha, no king bothers you. Even thieves, they are not bothered about you. So then you are like birds. Yatha Shakunta Paravardhitandruman Samashayante. You are like birds. You're halting wherever you get some fruit, and then you just move on. Wherever you get some food, and then you just move on. You have no attachment to any place. Then, and your life itself is like a yajna. So this Yatehe Virajya Atmagati Kalatram. For a Yati, who is wife, Shraddha itself, Nididhyasana, or Shraddha itself, Atma Parishuddha, Atma Shuddhi, that itself is the wife. Then Deham Gruham, the body itself is the Gruham. So like that, there is a description which is close to one of the Upanishadic, not Upanishad, the Taittiriya Aranyakam, there is one Panna that is called Tasya Yasya Evam Vidusho Yajnasya Yajamana Atma Shraddha Patni. So for a person who is a jnani, Shraddha is his patni, Yajamana Atma. So his entire life, whatever he eats, whatever he drinks, with whomever he interacts, all the activities are like yajna. So a person's life is compared to a yajna. The entire life, all the activities. So this shlokas, a couple of shlokas similar to that. Then they praise like that. Then Padmapada again, from verses 92 to 106. So he praises Grihasthas. Oh, you are Grihastha, you are praising me, but you are also very important, because Grihastha Dharma is very, very important. If Grihastha is not there, there is no sannyasi. You see, Grihastha Dharma, you see, Vanaprastha may be on his own. You see, he says, Uchchai Shastram Bhashamanopi Bhikshuhu Taram Mantram Sanjapanva Yatatma. So a sannyasi may give some lectures Uchchaihi, that means very loudly he may be talking about Shastram. And he may be reciting Taram Mantram, he may be telling about Omkara. Madhye Ghasram Jatharagnav Pradipte. So in the midday, by midday, what happens? Jatharagnav Pradipte. The Jataragni starts burning in his stomach. So at that time, he has to go to one Grihastha's house only for food. Then Vanaprastha also may depend on Grihastha for some time. So like that, he praises Grihastha Dharma because Grihastha is a person who gets punyam without even visiting any places of pilgrimage. He says, Druhi Grihasthopi tadashnute phalam yat tirtha sevabhihi avapyate janaihi. Whatever punyam is obtained by people by visiting tirtha, various punya tirthas, a Grihastha gets that punyam staying at home. Then again, he also says about karma yoga. Vinabhisantim kuruta shrutiritam karma dvijaha no jagatamadhishwaraha. So he says, Jagatamadhishwara, the Lord has told us, Vinabhisantim kuruta. Without expecting fruit of karma, you do karma. That is karma yoga. Vihita dharma acharana. That is whatever dharma is prescribed for you, we have to do that dharma and attain that antahkarana shuddhi, that purity of mind. So he praises Grihasthas like that. In fact, the Grihastha was probably a highly burdened man in olden days. Nowadays, the Grihasthas are not burdened because we don't receive guests, we don't host, we don't have such responsibility to give food, etc. Very rarely do we give food to anybody who is unknown to us. In olden days, anybody who is totally unknown who could walk in and then we could demand food, any sage or any sadhu. So, but not now. So, Grihastha was a highly burdened man, probably even more than Grihastha, the housewife, because at any point of time, in the evening or night, she had to get up and then prepare food for people. So, that was the picture. But now it has totally changed. So, anyway, he praises Grihastha Dharma. And now, a small incident happens. Padmapada's uncle was a Mimamsaka. So he watches Padmapada and his students. One student was very carefully carrying a book, very carefully hiding and carrying a book, probably under his armpit and or in his bag. Then he asked the student, what is that book? So by that time they were all friendly, and then he said, oh, this is the Tika. This is the Tika Vidvan Bhashyageti Purvanam Tam Dehiti Procheshe Dattavanscha. So he said, okay, let me see that book. Okay, see that book. He gave that book. So then he saw Adrakshi Tatam Matulastasya Buddhim Dushtva Anandit Khedam Apachya Kinchit. So he felt happy that, oh, it's such a brilliant book. But at the same time, he felt unhappy because that was actually destroying his own doctrine. That is demolishing his own doctrine. Outwardly, he praised it. Oh, this is so nice, etc., etc. But inwardly, he started feeling, "Arey, my doctrine is demolished." Then, what happened? Padmapada was actually moving on, but he said, "You keep this book for some time. We will just go visit some places and then come back." Setum gacchami, alaye pustabharam te nyasya imam vartate metra jivaha. Yasya imam vartate meatra jivaha. My whole life is in this. My pranam is in this. I am doing this nyasam. That is, I am keeping this, entrusting this book to you, because in olden days, probably the burden was also more, because they had to carry a book, means they had to, it was a small load. So when they were going to Ramasetu, till I come back from that Setu Yatra, you please keep this book. So then this gentleman also thought it was a nice opportunity. How to destroy this book? This book actually, he is demolishing the argument of my own guru, that is Prabhakara. So what to do? Then he thought, I will keep it in my house and burn my house. Probably in olden days, houses were also made of some thatched roofs, etc. Even when they were great scholars, and probably they lived, many of them, they lived in small houses only. Then he thought, let me destroy the house. So if I destroy the house, I can safely take the plea that the book got destroyed. Pakshasya nashad gruhanasha eva no varam. Pakshasya nashat. That is, it is better to destroy the house than destroy or demolish my doctrine. So that is what he said. He thought, Pakshasya nashat gruhanasha eva no varam. So varam is greater. It is better. So I will burn the book so that it is a better way. So then he did that. Meanwhile, Padmapada continued his yatra. Then he went to, he visited some places. I'm skipping various shlokas. So Padmapada visited Rameshwara Kshetram. Rameshwara tam mahatyam varnayantam munintam. So there was a meaning, there was a shloka about Rameshwara. What is the meaning of Rameshwara? Rameshwara, how to explain the meaning of this word Rameshwara? So then Padmapada said, you see, Raghudvahas Tatpurusham Param Jagav. So when there was a debate about what Rameshwara means, Ramasya Ishwaraha Rameshwaraha. That is, one who is Ishwara means boss. Ramasya Ishwaraha, one who is the Lord for Rama, is Rameshwara. That is one meaning. That is Vaishnavas, they say. Then again, Shaivas, what do they say? Ramaha Ishwaraha. No, Shaivas, no. Vaishnavas, they say Ramaha Ishwaraha Yasya Saha. That is, one for whom Rama is the Lord. That is what Vaishnavas say. Ramasya Ishwaraha, that is what Shaivas say. If you ask Rama himself, out of modesty, he says Ramasya Ishwaraha. Out of modesty, he says Tatpurusha Samasa. That is what he is saying. Raghudvaha Tatpurusham Param Jagav. Rama says it is Tatpurusha. Ramasya Ishwaraha, he is Rama's Lord. Then Shiva also, out of the same humility, he says it is Bahuri. That is Ramaha Ishwaraha Yasya Saha. Then you ask sages, what do they say? Ameshware Namani Karmadharayam Param Samahusma Sureshwaradayaha. Says Sureshwara and all other people. They say what? They say that it is Karmadharaya. Ramascha Asau Ishwaraha. Ishwarascha. There is no difference between Rama and Ishwara. When we say Rameshwara, it is neither Tatpurusha nor Bahurihi, but it should be Karmadharaya Samasa. So that is what they said. Then from there, and again, after visiting Ramasetu, he came back to his maternal uncle's place. Then that book burning, that house burning, he saw. Then, oh, how unfortunate. Vishwasya mam nihitavanasi pustabharam. Then that maternal uncle cried out, oh, you had trusting me, you gave this book to me, but unfortunately it got burned. Then Padmapada also, he really thought, yes, it happened. Uktva samarabdha punaschatikam kartum sadhiro yatiprunda vandhyah. Okay, what can we say? What can we do? It is a very unfortunate thing. But still, pustam gatam buddhihi avastitame. Pustam gatam, though the book has gone, my buddhi, my brilliance is still intact. I will again write it, don't worry. So then that man thought, oh, again there is a problem. This man will again rewrite that book. So let me do something to destroy his mind. Probably in olden days, people also used to give some medicines to make people mad or make people dull. You see, kinchit dravyam purvavat, you see, drashtva buddhim matuhu matulasya matustasya bhuyo bhitaha prasyad bhojane tan manoghanam. Manoghanam means that which destroys the mind. Manoghanam means not manognya, but manoghana. That which destroys the mind. Some such medicine or some such poison he administered in food. And from that, by that, he rather became dull and he became forgetful and he lost that brilliance of mind. Then this Padmapada was helpless. And all the disciples, they proceeded to Kerala to meet Shankara Bhagavadpada. Then what again happened? What happens? Then again, there are Shankara Bhagavadpada is still there, and then Shankara Bhagavadpada's hymn to Vishnu is there. So Sadasattva Muktaya, yeah. We see that Shankara Bhagavadpada again, another context. There is another Vishnu Stotram here. That Vishnu Stotram, I will skip this Vishnu Stotram. Then Padmapada meets Shankaracharya. And Shankaracharya, then Padmapada also tells how he defeated various scholars. And and also tells about how his book was lost. Then people say, yeah, he also says, my uncle has done it. I am not able to write it again. Then Shankaracharya says, you had earlier read out that book to me once long ago. You had read out that book to me. Purvam Shrungakshmadhare. Shrungakshmadhara means Shrungagiri. Shmadhara, Bhudhara, that is Giri. Shrungagiri. Purvam Shrungakshmadhare Matsamipe Premna Yasav Achita Pachapati. You had lovingly read it out to me. I still remember. You please take it down. I will tell you. So he recited the whole thing and then he wrote Panchapadika again. So that is how it happened. Then I'll skip another small episode where a king, local king, comes and then interacts with the Shankaracharya. Then this 15th sarga is a very big sarga. I have to complete it in 20 minutes or so. Try to do that. So Shankaracharya also moved towards Ramasetu. From Kerala. Now that all the students are there, he wanted to move on. So first he had some debates with this Shakta. Shakta, that is the people who were Madhuprasaktaihi. Archa, Kapatan, Madhuprasaktaihi. They were all doing Archa, Pujana, but then they were indulging in this what is called Panchamakara, Madhya, Mamsa, etc. So this Panchamakaras. Then he taught, and also he debated with them. But then there are some people with whom you can't debate also. So you have to reject them. Vijajati Bhahishkrutan Anaryan Akaro Lokahitaya Karma Setum. So he at least gave them some standard procedures. Karma Setu. Karma Setu means some standard procedures of worship. So he taught whoever could be taught, and he rejected some people. So that is what he did. Meanwhile, the kings, Pandya, Chola, the Dravida, all those kings and the people, they became his students. Then here in the commentary, if we see the Dindima commentary on this book, that commentary contains about 500 odd verses, 500 and odd verses, which were probably there in the older Shankara Vijaya. In the beginning, we saw that this Shankara Vijaya is a condensation of an older version. So probably all those verses must have been there. So those verses tell about the 72 different sects which were there in India, with whom Shankaracharya debated. Most of them he rejected, saying that they were all Avaidika, they were all rather indulging in very bad, very uncivilized practices. So all those uncivilized and cruel traditions he rejected. So there is a lot of lot many slokas which we can find in the commentary, that Dindima commentary. Here also there is a summary, but I am skipping all that. Then again, Shankara Bhagavadpada got a temple built in Kanchi. Suradhama cha tatra karaitva paravidya charananusari chitram. So Shankaracharya got a temple built in Kanchi, and Kanchi was a place where Tantra was very predominant. Apavarya cha tantrikan, Tantra. Various people who were worshipping, who were offering, what is this, animal sacrifice and various types of sacrifice. Atanit Bhagavatya Shruti Sammatam Saparyam. That is what we see. Vamachara and Dakshinachara. Dakshinachara is Shruti Sammata. That is in accordance with the Vedic practices. Vamachara means it doesn't bother about Vedas. They have got their own practices like offering Matya, Mamsa, etc. To the goddess. So they were killing animals. Probably we do not know about Narabali, is not mentioned here. But if you go to Kanchi, that Kamakshi temple, the Archakas even now they tell a story. They tell a story that Shankaracharya came here, and then he, when the goddess had gone out to eat people in the night, and she used to go out in the night and then eat what all was there, and then she used to come back in the early hours. So one day he sat inside when the goddess had gone out, and then he did that Sri Chakra Pratisthapana there, and then he did not allow the goddess to come in. And he allowed her to come in only when she promised that she would give up that killing. So that is basically a symbolic way of saying that Shankaracharya got that Pashupali stopped in that temple. So Apavarya Tatancha Tantrikan Atani Bhagavatya Shruti Sammatam Saparya. So, and then again he came to Andhra Desha. Andhra Desha, all Andhras, they welcomed Shankaracharya. That is the best way to ignore. The best way to ignore is there's a moment anybody comes, you put a garland, touch his feet, and then he is very happy, he goes away, you are also happy. So Shankaracharya, from there he went to Venkatachalesha, from there he proceeded to Vidarbha, and again Karnataka Desha was full of Kapalikas. At that time, Karnataka Desha was full of Kapalikas, but then by that time, one king was also there with him. One king named Sudhanva. Yeah, I forgot to tell you. There was one king named Sudhanva. So he also accompanied with some small army, maybe some small army also was there. So then again, Atha Tirthakaragragani Pratasthe Kila Kapalika Jalakam Vijetum. Okay, there was some Kapalika named Krakacha. So that man came and clashed with them, and then there was a clash, and then meanwhile Kala Bhairava appears, and he worships Kala Bhairava, who that Kapalika, and Kala Bhairava appears. So he is the person who is the commentary says Mantradhina. You see, God or goddess appears as per the Upasana Shakti of this person. So this Krakacha also was a great Upasaka of Bhairava. So he invited Bhairava to kill Shankaracharya, but Bhairava appeared and took away the head of Krakacha himself, saying, "How can you ask me to kill myself? He is my avatar." So like that, there is an episode here. Then again, there is debates with lot many people here. And Shankaracharya then went to Gokarna Kshetra. Then again, he praised Shiva in Shiva Bhujanga Prayata Stotram. There was one scholar named Nilakantha. He was a master in Shaiva tradition. So in that Shaiva tradition, Shiva-Advaita tradition, he had written Vedanta Sutra Bhashya, like Shankaracharya had written Bhashya. In this non-dual tradition, there similarly, the people have written on Vaishnava tradition, people have written in Shiva-Advaita tradition. So this Nilakantha had written a commentary of his own in that Shiva-Advaita tradition, saying that Lord Shiva is there. You see, Advaita tells about a total Nirguna Brahma. Whereas in the Shaiva tradition, they say it is Shiva. In the Vaishnava tradition, they say it is Vishnu with all various Saguna. It is a Saguna form only and not a Nirguna form. So that is the difference. So then again, there is a debate. There is a debate with this Nilakantha. Again, there is a discussion on this same Tattvamasi and all that. Then again, like what we saw in the debate with Mandana Mishra, similar discussion is here. Then again, in this Tattvamasi, you are not equating the Jiva straight away with the Ishvara. You are equating the essence of Jiva with the essence of Ishvara. The essence of Jiva is Antahkaranavachinam Chaitanya, the consciousness which is associated with this body-mind complex, which is, we are calling it Jiva. And Ishvara is Mayavachinam Chaitanya. There also is the Chaitanyam, here also the Chaitanya. The common factor only we are equating, and not the Upadhi, something which tentatively comes and goes, is called Upadhi. The body-mind complex is something which is tentative. So similarly for Ishvara, that Maya is again tentative. So the Chaitanyam is something which is the common thing. So you are equating the Lakshana, not the Vachyartha, but the Lakshana. You take the meaning in that Lakshana form. Then this non-difference, we are not telling in the literal sense, but we are telling in the absolute sense, or what is called Lakshyartha. Lakshyartha is not figurative. Lakshyartha is not figurative. Again, if we say that in a figurative sense is not at all correct. Lakshyartha is the intended sense. We have to say that. Then there is a debate about how can you equate Alpagnya with the Sarvagnya, etc. This debate takes a long time. We have to skip it. Then again, then Shankaracharya visits, in fact, somebody who is interested in these debates, we have to see the commentary also. And all these sections, they deserve close study or scrutiny. Shankaracharya then visits Dwaraka. Then again, there again, there were the Pancharatras. Dwaraka, we know, is the place of Krishna, Lord Krishna. So naturally, there are people, Krishna worshippers there. And Krishna worshippers, what were they called? They were called Pancharatra. Pancharatra, Swama, Swam, Amrutam, Panchabhida, Vidam, Vadantah. So they were telling about Panchavedas. Panchaveda means the Veda, the difference between Jiva and Ishvara, difference between Jiva, Jada, then Ishvara, Jada Vedam, then again between man, human being, one individual and another human being. So they see difference everywhere. So Shankaracharya's doctrine, or rather the purport of the Upanishads is not to see Vedam. So there is a debate with them. That is Veda, Vedavada, Veda, Vedavada. Then, no, after that he comes to a place, another place, where he meets another scholar called Bhattavaskara. Pancharatra is different. I'm sorry. Pancharatras are different. Pancharatras also he debated. That was a small debate. But thereafter, another person called Bhattavaskara, he is almost close to Advaita. He looks like Advaitin, but then he is not an Advaitin. So it is called Veda, Abhedavada. So then again, you need a lot of time to discuss the whole thing, because there are about 50 shlokas in which Veda, Vedavada is refuted. This 15th Sarga, the debate is as lengthy as in the case of Mandana Mishra. And it is slightly different also. The debate there is slightly different. The debate here also is slightly, here it is slightly different. This Veda, Vedavada, their basic principles are the karma and jnanam are not mutually exclusive. A jnani should also do karma. That is what they say. Jnana karma samuchayavada. Jnani also has to do karma. Only then he is fulfilled. But whereas our Vedanta Siddhanta is, Jnani may do karma for Loka Sangraha, he may not do karma. Jnani, there is no compulsion on him that he has to do karma. So that is one important point. Then for Veda, in Veda, Vedavada, Brahma and Jagat are identical, but at the same time, the world is also real. Brahma is the same as Jagat, they say, but the world also is real. But Vedanta says Jagat is a tentative appearance in Brahman. Then again, the Veda, Vedavadis, they also accept Jiva Nanatvam. They propose Jiva Nanatvam. All the Jivas are different. All the Jivas are very much there. And all the Jivas are small parts, Amsha of the whole larger body called Vishnu. So then again, the doctrine of this idea of Maya or Avidya is something which is rejected by Veda, Vedavadi. Brahma itself undergoes Parinam. Brahma itself undergoes Parinama. That is what they say, Brahma Parinamavada. Then such basically metaphysical or rather ontological debates, they show how strong our debating tradition was. There were no preconceived notions, or there was no worry that we are offending somebody's feelings, etc. Basically, the idea was to establish reality, establish truth. In order to establish truth, they were debating. So I am skipping these shlokas because they take a long, long time. In fact, I myself did not thoroughly see all this. Then, thus, after a long debate, he defeated this Bhattavaskara. And Bhattavaskara, there is no mention that Bhattavaskara became his follower. Other people, they became his followers, but Bhattavaskara did not. He was simply defeated. Then from there, Shankaracharya proceeded to Ujjaini, and from there to Avanti. Avanti, here again, Ujjaini and Avanti. And again, he went to Bahlika Desha. There is a mention that he went to Bahlika Desha. But Bahlika Desha is actually Afghanistan. In Mahabharata, we find that Bahlika Desha, Shakuni, Gandhari, they are from the Bahlika Desha. If we see, it is called the Balkh province of Afghanistan now. Balkh province. But then how Shankaracharya went to Balkh province, we do not know. But there is a mention that he went to Bahlika Desha. Probably there is another place referred here, we do not know. Then again, he had some debate with Jains. Then there was a debate with all this Udayana Acharya, etc. Then he went to Kamarupa. Kamarupa is Assam. And the place, there is small historical inaccuracy we see here. He went to Kamarupa, Tadanantaramesha Kamarupan Adhigatya Abhinavopashabdaguptam Ajayat Kila Shakti Bhashyakaram. So Shakti, there is another Bhashyam on this Brahma Sutras. That is from the Shakta in the Shakta tradition. There is a Shaiva tradition, there is a commentary. Vaishnava tradition, there is commentary, and Shakta tradition also there is a commentary. So Shankaracharya is said to have gone to Assam and defeated Abhinavagupta. But there are two small inaccuracies. One is Kamarupa is Assam, and Abhinavagupta belongs to Kashmir. Abhinavagupta is again, he belongs to a period later than Shankaracharya's period, but we do not know how to reconcile this thing because the poet has brought various people into the same time frame, of Shankaracharya. Then when he defeated that Abhinavagupta was also well versed in Tantra. So he did some Tantra Prayoga. So outwardly he acted as a disciple of Shankaracharya, but and moved with his students. But he also did some sort of Abhicharika Prayoga. Abhicharika Prayoga we find in our Atharva Veda also. So he did some Abhicharika Prayoga on, that is, we can say, we can loosely say black magic, some such thing. So he did some Prayoga on Shankaracharya. With that, he got a disease called Bhagandharam. Bhagandharam, nowadays it is a very simple thing, but probably in olden days it was a very serious problem. So that is how we come to the end of this 15th Sarga. 15th Sarga, I skipped very important discussion. I am sorry about it because it takes a long time. Then when Abhinavagupta did Abhicharika Prayoga, Shankaracharya, he was not angry about it. Was not angry about it. So he thought it is all due to our karma. Or he said, at least, we didn't know whether he thought. He told his students, it is all karma, phala, it comes like that and goes. So it only shows Vyadhirhi Janmantara Papa Pakaha Vogena Tasmak Shapaniya Yeshaha. You see, all this Vyadhi, any disease, it is somewhat like a cancer probably. So it is the Papa Pakaha. Papa Pakaha means it is the result of our sins, or result of our past karmas. And Tasmat Shapaniya Yeshaha, we have to endure it. So we see how our people showed enormous endurance in all types of painful situations also. So he even he didn't bother to show it to invite doctors or summon doctors. Then the students, they put a lot of pressure. They invited doctors. The doctors came, and then the doctors could not do anything. Then again, the students, they requested or worshipped Ashwini Devatas. Here you see, they worshipped Ashwini Devata. Ashwini Devatas are the doctors, the divine doctors, let us say. The divine doctors, they also said, no, it is something which cannot be cured. Then Padmapada did some Pranava Japa. He says, Tadanu Swaguroho Gada Apanutyai Paramantrantu Jajapa Jatamanyuhu. Then you see this Padmapada did Pranava Japa. And Abhinav, by that Pranava Japa, and also Narasimha Mantra Japa, here there is again Narasimha Japa, my mention is there. So when he did it, the disease got transferred to that originator. Originator is Abhinavagupta. So the disease got transferred to Abhinavagupta, and Abhinavagupta died because of that. Abhinavagupta, actually, we do not know how to reconcile. So then again, there is a small episode in which Gaudapada Acharya appears in front of him. One day, it seems when he was Swasthas Soyam Brahma Soyam Brahma Sayam Kadachit Dhyayan Gangapura Sangardravataihi. So when he was walking along that on the banks of Ganges, so he suddenly saw Pratyagachyad Yogishanam Gaudapada Vidhanam. So he suddenly saw Gaudapada Acharya. Of course, Gaudapada Acharya he had not physically met, but then he identified Gaudapada Acharya is the teacher of Govinda Bhagavadpada. Govinda Bhagavadpada is Guru Shankaracharya's Guru, but he identified Gaudapada Acharya, and such a chance darshan of Gaudapada Acharya. So he bowed to his feet. Then Gaudapada Acharya, there is a small interaction between them. So Gaudapada Acharya also blesses him. So he questioned Shankaracharya, how is your tapas and how are your students, and then all questions. Bhaktya yukta swanurakta virakta shanta danta santatam shraddhadhanaha. Are you having some good students who are your bhaktas, who are your yuktas, anuraktas, and all that, and also virakta, wonderful shloka. So are your students having all these qualities, and have you got over all this kama, krodha, lobha, moha, etc. Kachin, nityashatravu, nirchidasya, nityashatrava, all these nityashatru, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, etc. Have you conquered all those people? So all those questions. Normally, when a saint meets another junior saint, he puts those questions. So like that. Vipra madhyayanam pruchet, there is a sloka. When you meet a Vipra, you have to ask him, you should not ask him, how is your business, or are you making money? You have to ask him, are you studying well? How are your Shastras? So like that. So then again, Shankaracharya showed his Bhashyam to him. Then, Shahuto Yoga Bhashya Pranayita. Okay. Then he also showed Shankaracharya humbly, very humbly, read out his commentary on Gaudapada Karika. Vishishya Mandukyaga Bhashya Yugmam Srutva Prahrushyanidam Abravitam. So he read out the Mandukya Sutra Bhashya, Mandukya Karika. Whatever Bhashyam he had written on Gaudapada Karikas, he showed it to him, and Gaudapada was extremely happy. Mat Karika Bhava Vibhedita. He says, you choose any boon, he says. You choose any boon. Datum Varam Te Vidusham Varay. You choose any boon. So Shankaracharya said, the only boon I ask is that all that Brahmanishta, I should always be in that Brahmanishta, he says. Varah parah kosti tathapi chintanam chittatvagam me astu guru nirantaram. Oh Guru, let that Brahmanishta be there, nirantaram, always in me. Then okay, he said, yes, tatha iti so antarthim apasta. So he said yes, and then he disappeared. Then again, Shankaracharya, there is one last episode which says about Shankaracharya, how he comes to know about Sarvagnya Peetham in Kashmir Desha. There is one Sarvagnya Peetham. And here, the importance of Kashmir Desha is told in some slokas. One sloka is very beautiful and fairly well-known sloka. Jambu Dvipam Shasyate Syam Prathivyam. Sloka number 55 of 16th Sarga. Jambu Dvipam Shasyate Syam Prathivyam. On this earth, Jambu Dvipa is very well known, very renowned. Tatra Pietan Mandalam Bharatakhyam. In that Jambu Dvipa, again, Bharatakhanda is very famous. Kashmirakhyam Mandalam Tatra Shastam. In Bharatakhanda, again, Kashmirakya Pradesha is very well known. So we should tell all our modern people who say that India has never been a nation, has never been a country, etc. We should tell our fellows that such descriptions are there in all our texts. Kashmirakhyam Mandalam Tatra Shastam Yatraste Asau Sharada Vagadhisha. Even in that Kashmira, that place, unfortunately now in Kashmir, in Pakistan, Yatraste Asau Sharada Vagadhisha, where the Sharada Peetham is there. That is the greatest place on earth. So Jambudvipa is important, and in Jambudvipa, Bharatakhanda is important, and Kashmir is important in Bharatakhanda. Then again, Sharada Peetham again is important in that. So like that we see. But then there we see that Sarvagnya Peetham, there were 4 doors. So east, west, north, south. So east, west and north, all the doors, the great scholars had already entered. But the southern door was closed. Because no scholar from south went and opened it. Dwaram pinadham kila dakshinatyam. Nasanti Vidvamsa iti hadakshaha. There are no scholars from south. There are no scholar had gone from south to that place to open the door to debate with all other resident scholars there. And then the resident scholars, they certify, yes, he is a Sarvagnya, and then he can ascend. So Shankara Bhagavadpada, Tam Kimvadantim Vipalam Vidhatum. to say, to challenge and break that particular rule, or rather that particular view, that there are no scholars from South, he proceeded to Kashmir. Then again, there are some slokas which describe how Shankaracharya went, and so he approached the sudden door and tried to get in, and the scholars there stopped him. And the scholars, they belong to various schools. There were schools from Kannada. There were scholars from Kannada tradition, Kannada Vaisheshika tradition, scholars from other traditions, Nayayika. Then again, people like Sankhya people were there. Tam Kapila Prahasamula Yonihi. Then again, various other Bauddhas were also there. Then again, Jaimini, that is Mimamsaka. So all those schools, they challenged him, and Shankaracharya replied to all of them. At last, Goddess Saraswati herself, she took the test. Goddess Saraswati herself, she asked some questions, and again she said, you have violated Yati Dharma. That is, Tvancha Anganas Samupabhujya Kalarahasya Pravinya Bhajanamabu Yati Dharmanishtaha. Yati Dharmanishta, you are supposed to be Yati Dharmanishta. But then Anganas Samupabhujya, you enjoyed with those women. And Kalarahasya, Kamakala Rahasya, you learned from them, and you thus broke the vow. How can you be how can you be competent to come here? Then again he says, Na asmin sharire kotakilbishoham janma prabhutyamba na santi he aham. Hey Amba, oh mother, I did not do this in this body. I entered somebody else's body and learned it, and that too because you had questioned me. So that I am not tainted by that karma. Na lipyeta tena lipyeta hi na tena lipyeta hi karmana anyah. If somebody does one karma, somebody else is not tainted with that karma. Some other body did it. So she had no reply, and then thus the eligibility was declared, and then he ascended the Sarvajna Peetham. So that is how this book comes to an end. Then there are some shlokas in praise of Shankaracharya, in praise of Advaita Siddhanta, and iti munihi atitushto atishya sarvagnya peetham nijamata gurutaye no punar manaheto. So what the writer says is, he ascended that peetha on nijamata gurutaye only to demonstrate the greatness of his own doctrine, and not due to pride, not due to his own ego. Nijamata na punar manaheto. Then katichana viniveshya अथ ऋष्यशृंगाश्रमादौ मुनिरथ बदरीं सप्राप कैश्चित् सशिष्यैः. Then how he established these ashramas, he viniveshya means he installed somebody in that Rishyashrungaashramadau, in ashramas like Shrungeri. That means he is not particularly mentioning other ashramas, other peethas, but just in general ashramadau. So he deployed his students there. Iti Kruta Surakaryam Netum Ajagmurenam. Now that his mission was fulfilled, then the divine, all the gods like Indra, they came down. Then who are all the Vidhi, Shatamakha, Chandropendra, Vai, Vagni Purva, Vidhi is Brahma, Shatamakha is Indra, Chandra, Upendra is Vishnu. All the people they gave, Vai, Vagni Purva, Vai, Vagni Devata, all these gods, they came to take him back to Kailasa. So they all praised and requested him to come along and go along with them. And then surrounded by gods, like Indra is surrounded by gods, Shankaracharya was also surrounded by Vishnu, Brahma, and all of the people, and taking support of Brahma's hand. So he mounted Nandi and shining very brightly in his original form. So that Shankaracharya's Rupam is gone, and shining brightly in that original form, he proceeded to heaven. That last sloka is like that. Indropendra pradhanaihi Tridasha Parivrudhaihi Stoyamanah Prasunaihi Divyaihi Abhyarchamanaha. So all the god and all those divine the gods, they were showering flowers on him. Then Aruhya Kshanam Agriyam Prakatita Sujata Juta Chandravatam Saha. That is the locks of hair and crescent moon. That is an original form. He appeared, and then he went up to Kailasa. So that is how the book ends. If we see, there are certain things which are slightly difficult to explain, and we have to explain them as poets, say general poetic license, and certain unique features of our tradition. They are very well brought out. That is the debating tradition. You see, we don't go about taking swords and then going about converting people. If we have some philosophical understanding, because this is something which is based on philosophy. It is not something which is based on faith. If it is based on faith, you have to take a sword. But here it is based on philosophy. Philosophy and ontological discussion, epistemological discussion, all those discussions, they are mentioned here also, but we could not go into all those things. So, because it is like that, there more based, the disputes were settled by debates only. Then again, certain sociological things also we see, like Harihara tension, Harihara Veda, the tensions were there, social tensions were there because of so many different traditions. And Advaita is one philosophy which brings all these traditions into the fold of Upanishads, under the umbrella of Upanishads, and then gives a place. It gives a place to everybody. It gives a place to everybody. They are all accepted so long as you follow certain karma setu, as Shankaracharya said. So long as you follow that. So all this he did basically to establish the truth, to propagate the truth. It is not as though his idea was to unite all people telling by some false stories. It is not telling some false stories, by telling about what is Tattvam. This is what is Tattvam. And in that Tattvam, you worship any name, you worship any form. So that is how our philosophy goes. Not that, okay, like our politicians say, you bring all these people together, all religions are one, etc. Not like that. So his idea was to establish truth. So that is what he did, and that is how we can understand this text and understand Shankaracharya's personality. He was a role model for all of us, role model for all the scholars. You see, Shankaracharya did Purva Paksha of various people in his time. The present day scholars also have to do Purva Paksha of various debaters now, various challengers now. That is the lesson which probably we have to know from Shankaracharya. I think I will stop here, and the time also is only 5 minutes more to 9.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rao. We have got 2 questions, and I think we have some time for the questions. The first is the rather simple question, is the information question. Is that what are those 5 makaras which are prohibited?
Yeah, I have to check the commentary. I don't have a commentary readily here. I can send by mail.
Okay.
I can answer by mail, because that is commentary right now not with me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The second question is that is ever unmodifying, which is not prapya, utpadya, vikarya, samskarya, and gunatita Brahman. Ever unmodifying gunatita Brahman, how does it become guni prapancha with such precise scientific laws and patterns?
This is a much bigger question. Because this is the very postulation of Maya. That is the postulation of Maya. And our Siddhanta is there is only one entity called consciousness, and that consciousness is manifesting as the whole universe. And that process of manifestation, how it manifests, we do not know. And that we call it, that is the reason why we call it Maya. And that Maya is something which is, we do not know whether it is Sat or Asat, Sadasadhyam, Anirvachanam, we cannot say it exists, it really exists, and we cannot say it doesn't exist at all. So that is the reason why we say it has got some sort of tentative existence. So like that, it is a much bigger question in Vedanta, and probably we have to go into bigger texts for that, how the Chaitanya manifests as matter.
Yeah. I think we are done with the questions. Thank you very much. My Sashtang Dandavat to you. On behalf of the viewers, also a very what we pronounce to you.
Yeah, thank you. I thank our Indica and I thank Nitin Sridhar for having given me this opportunity to study this book. Otherwise, probably I would have skipped this book. But having read this book, I feel really enriched. And I think I have to do more study of this book, not only here, but along with the commentary, because the commentary is something which is wonderful. So I recommend to everybody, though there is a debate or rather there is an idea that this is something not written by Vidyaranya, something which is concocted, etc. All those things, we do not know the truth, but still we have a lot to learn from this book. Lot many sociological things and philosophical issues, and then how Shankaracharya and people like that they debated. So there are a lot many things to learn from this. So I do really, I am grateful to you all for having heard me. Though I have not done full justice, I could not do full justice to the book. It requires a lot many classes also. So, thank you.
Is it possible to share your contact details, mail address, or something like that?
Yes, my mail. It is not to Nitinji.
Okay, I will request the viewer to get in touch with Nitinji to get your
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pranam
Thank you. Hari Om Tatsat.
Hari Om Tatsat. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Please join Evening Well-Read Creators on Many Problems and One Solution by Swami Advaita Advaita of Chinmay Mission. Thank you.